Tonight, banned and fined. Michael Matheson's punished by the Scottish Parliament after trying to claim expenses for thousands of pounds in roaming charges on his ministerial iPad because his kids watch football on a family holiday.
Also making the headlines, why giant batteries are needed across Scotland. As we push for net zero, it's crucial we have energy storage for the power generated by wind and solar farms.
Pole position. Primary school pupils take to the track in cars they built themselves.
And we sit down with Scotland boss Steve Clarke to look ahead to this summer's European Championships.
Opening game, come on, opening game against the host nation. I think we know that it's going to be a spectacular occasion.
I'm Kellyanne Woodland in Edinburgh.
And I'm John Mackay in Glasgow. This is the STV News at 6. Good evening. Michael Matheson has been suspended from the Scottish Parliament for 27 days and fined 54 days' salary. It's the toughest ever punishment for an MSP found to have breached the rules.
Mr Matheson ran up an £11,000 bill for roaming charges after his sons used his parliamentary iPad as a hotspot to watch football on a family holiday to Morocco. The Conservatives say he should quit as an MSP. Here's our political editor, Colin Mackay.
Were you watching the Old Firm game?
Michael Matheson has been under increasing pressure since he admitted racking up an £11,000 data roaming bill on a family holiday in Morocco last year. In November, he made a tearful apology in Parliament.
As a parent, I wanted to protect my family from being part of the political and media scrutiny associated with this, something I believe any parent would want to do. The simple truth is, they were watching football matches.
He resigned as Health Secretary and paid back the cash and is now facing the longest suspension and biggest fine ever handed down to an MSP by the Standards Committee.
There had been breaches of the Code on Conduct by member Michael Matheson, MSP, in relation to the use of mobile data via a SIM card and a device issued to him by the Parliament.
The Deputy First Minister backed Michael Matheson and attacked the procedures. The Conservatives said he should quit as an MSP, forcing a by-election in Falkirk on the same day as the general election.
Breaches like this should be proportionately sanctioned. Michael Matheson has paid back the roaming costs and there's been no cost to the public purse. His actions have had consequences. He lost his cabinet position despite being one of the longest-serving ministers of this Parliament. He's faced considerable reputational damage and significant intrusion in his personal life.
If someone is found to have falsely claimed £11,000 from their employer, in this case the taxpayer, then they lied about it as part of a cover-up, they would have been sacked. Let me be clear, this is not a harmless mistake that some have attempted to present it as. This was a deliberate and shameless attempt to pull the wool over the eyes of this Parliament and the public. It is an open and shut case.
When it came to the vote, all but the SNP backed a 27-day suspension and 54-day pay forfeit.
Yes, 64. There were no votes against. There were 63 abstentions. The motion, as amended, is therefore agreed.
Michael Matheson wasn't in Parliament today, but last week made it clear he wouldn't quit.
Whatever Parliament decides, I'll obviously abide by that. But until then, I'll continue to represent my constituents in Falkirk West, as I've had the pleasure of doing for many years, and I intend to do for many years to come.
After the vote, the First Minister accepted the outcome.
The matter is concluded because Michael Matheson has been sanctioned, Parliament has decided that, and unreservedly I accept it.
Michael Matheson has been suspended, but given we're in the midst of an election, the political row will roll on.
So Colin, why is there such controversy about this vote?
Well, John Swinney attacked the Standards Committee process, which led to these record sanctions today. He accused Conservative MSP Annie Wells, who's a member of the Standards Committee, of having prejudged the process because she'd already made condemnatory comments about Michael Matheson before they considered it. So today, the SNP amended the motion from the Standards Committee calling for a review of the Parliament's complaints procedure and criticising Ms Wells. The amendment was passed, but the SNP MSPs then didn't vote for the amended motion, as you heard in my report there. They abstained despite saying that they would actually accept the sanctions. Now, Labour's Jackie Baillie attacked the First Minister's judgment. The Greens' Patrick Harvey admitted this wasn't Parliament's finest day. And just in the last 15 minutes, the Conservative motion to try and get Michael Matheson to resign has failed in terms of the vote in Parliament, although that wouldn't have been binding anyway. It all looks a bit messy, but this whole process has been incredibly messy for the SNP for months now. It's even worse now that we're into the general election campaign. John Swinney accepted today that this wasn't part of his campaign plan, but all of his opponents are going to make it part of their campaign plan now. I think you can probably expect to see it rear its head again at First Minister's questions tomorrow too.
And Colin, we've also had news tonight of the STV leaders' debates.
Again, just in the last few minutes, confirmation that probably the first leaders' debate of the entire election will be on STV on Monday night. We'll have John Swinney, Anas Sarwar, Douglas Ross and Alex Cole-Hamilton. They'll get the chance to cross-examine each other live on STV. I'll be there to hold the jackets. That's Monday night, 9 o'clock on STV.
What a good job you'll do of it, Colin. Thanks very much for that.
More than 500 prisoners will be released early next month as the Scottish Government attempts to tackle the rising number of people in the country's jails. The Justice Secretary, Angela Constance, announced the legislation at Holyrood earlier this month after warning that prison estates are at critical risk. If regulations are agreed, it's understood that around 550 eligible prisoners will be released in 4 tranches from the end of June.
The number of battery energy storage systems being proposed in Scotland is expected to increase dramatically as part of the move towards net zero. The idea is that giant batteries will store excess power generated by renewables like wind and solar and be stored for future use.
But with the number of planning applications growing, residents across the country are concerned about their impact and safety. The Scottish Government says all proposals are subject to site-specific assessments and ensure local communities have their say. Vanessa Taff reports.
It's going to cause congestion for us locals.
That is just one concern Clydebank residents have about the introduction of a battery energy storage site. The development would see large containers, equipment and new roads constructed in the fields right beside housing.
That's part of the issue, I think.
However, this proposed site isn't the only one.
The fact that there's going to be 3 battery energy storage sites proposed within our area is quite a lot to take in. I don't think the health and safety aspect of it is very good, and I think that, you know, there needs to be legislation brought in so that these prospectors can't just come and find any empty land and start putting batteries on it.
Battery storage sites house excess energy from the grid. When there's high demand, they discharge it back into the system. In Clydebank, 3 proposed sites have been submitted by 3 different companies. Currently, there aren't any government regulations about who can build and manage the sites. While the size for one of these on Cocknow Road has been reduced, the lack of clarity around health and safety is causing concern.
I fully understand the need to meet our energy challenges, the needs that we have nationally for battery storage, but I think there's a number of significant safety concerns. Having met the developers myself and having them admitted that there's a lack of fire safety legislation in place for this specific type of battery on this very large site, which was initially one of, if not the biggest in Europe. There's a number of other concerns, including noise concerns. Now, there's going to be a significant amount of noise when the battery's discharging and recharging, and that could be all times of night.
At another site down the road, consulting with locals has been a key part of the process.
The Scottish Government are promoting these types of projects. They recognise in a whole suite of different policies that energy storage is really important to help the country get to net zero, and to facilitate that it would be helpful if they could give a bit more specific guidance for local councillors on planning committees to help them with their decision making.
In the meantime, a further public consultation is expected in the coming weeks.
Well, those are some of the concerns around a couple of proposed locations. But Vanessa joins us now from a working battery storage system in North Lanarkshire. So Vanessa, how do they work?
Well, there are 154 battery storage units at this site here in Wishaw, and it was the first in Scotland to connect to the transmission network. So that's kind of like the motorway for electricity, if you like, and everything breaks off from there. Well, let's have a little look inside one of these units. So you can see in this one, there are 16 large batteries. They're all powered up, they're ready to go, and they're collecting that excess energy that we produce from renewables. Well, I'm delighted to say that James joins me now. And James, tell me a little bit about some of the benefits of these battery storage units here.
So at Zenobē, we're investing more than £750 million over the next 3 years to more than double the amount of batteries on the transmission network. And we're doing that because Scotland has one of the most valuable wind resources in the world. But as you may have explained, it can be quite difficult to transport all that power. So what we're doing here on these batteries is we're storing the power when there's too much power on the grid, and then we're releasing it when there's enough capacity on the grid. And what's really good about that is that we stop wasting all the wind power that we generate. We make that wind power more reliable, and even better, we're reducing consumers' bills and CO2 emissions.
And some local communities that we've heard from are concerned, they've got safety concerns about these units. What would you say to those people?
So at Zenobē, we always work really closely with local communities to make sure that the projects that we're building are safe, reliable and clean. And we do that by working with suppliers who have the most stringent technical standards, but also by only using proven technology that's been through rigorous safety testing to get comfortable with the risks for ourselves and for the local community.
Great stuff, James. Thank you very much. Thanks for joining us. Well, it's sure to be an issue that we'll hear an awful lot about as the country makes that all-important move to those net zero targets.
Vanessa and Wishaw, thank you.
Thousands of cleansing workers are to be balloted on industrial action in a row over pay with 29 councils. Unite, the union, says if passed, its members could walk out in early July, with major events such as the Edinburgh International and Fringe festivals being impacted. Cleansing workers walked out during the 2022 Fringe in a similar dispute.
Next week marks the 80th anniversary of D-Day, the operation which led to the liberation of Western Europe and the beginning of the end of the Second World War.
Well, ahead of that, a commemorative event has been taking place at Edinburgh Castle, the latest stage in a torch relay which is heading to Normandy over the next few days. Well, our senior reporter Gordon Cree has been at the ceremony. Gordon, a very special occasion.
Yes, Kellyanne, this is the Scottish National War Memorial, and in the past hour we've had a ceremony here organised by the Commonwealth War Grave Commissions lighting their legacy campaign, and in that we saw two veterans of D-Day hand over a specially commissioned torch to young Sea Cadet Harry Flintoff from Paisley, symbolising the passing of the generations and the important place D-Day still holds 80 years on. Of course, for most of it, what we know about it comes from grainy film footage. There are very few people still around who have it in their living memory. But for those who were among the 160,000 troops who were there 80 years ago, memories are still vivid.
I shall never forget it. I get a bit upset. There are so many of my pals.
Are you okay, darling?
I think about it very often. It was a day you could never forget. All the people I was with. And they're very, very proud. Happy memories.
Poignant memories there, undimmed by the passage of time. There will be more reflection on D-Day in the coming days, culminating in ceremonies in Normandy next week, when you'd hope the weather might be somewhat better than today too.
All right, Gordon, thanks very much for that.
Major disruption on the Glasgow section of the M8 will continue for at least another 18 months, with Transport Scotland confirming the completion date for repairs is now early 2026. The estimated cost of the project has also almost doubled. It'll now cost up to £152 million. A man has been arrested and charged over an unexpected death at the Queen Elizabeth Hospital in Glasgow nearly 2 years ago. Martin Weldon died in 2022. Police say a 31-year-old man will appear in court tomorrow. Pupils from primary schools across the West Coast have taken to the racing circuit in Ayrshire, competing in classroom-built cars. The project, involving the Royal Navy and Glasgow Caledonian University, has taught the youngsters about teamwork. Ollie Dickinson reports.
These youngsters could be the racing stars of the future. Competing against the clock at Kane's Circuit in Ayrshire, they've built these Goblin racers, which can reach speeds of up to 20 miles an hour from scratch, as part of a major science and technology project.
In December time, we got told that we were going to build a car and it would be raced like now. So that then everyone just got super excited and we were like, oh, this is going to be amazing.
There's loads of roles for everyone, not just the building of the car, but the design and the photography for everyone. There's something for everyone.
I think it's going to be really fast. I've seen videos of it and I've seen people drive it. I also seen someone drive it just now.
More than 700 children aged 8 to 12 have been involved, with the all-electric carts arriving in kit form at 9 schools back in December. They've been built, designed and now raced with the help of Glasgow Caledonian University and the Royal Navy.
The children need to understand that they need to work in multidisciplinary collaborations. They need to, so some of them will have strength and weakness, and it's all those strengths that will make the things better. And this is why teamwork and the networking as well, because now they are getting in connections with other schools, getting in connections with the university students. They can see themselves going to the university.
For some, it's all about being the driver. For others, photography, engineering, maths and problem-solving skills have taken pole position.
The skills that they've developed throughout this project are not only transferable in the work that they'll do at high school, but have actually given them aspirations as to what they could do in the future. For many, it's not about building the car. What they've established is that there are many roles round about that. They will say it's come with challenges. There's been a lot of new learning. There's been learning that we've had to say we don't know and look for that, but not one of them will say they haven't had fun.
The racers will find out tomorrow who set the fastest time at an award ceremony on the university campus. Ollie Dickinson, STV News.
Now Ronnie is here with the sport.
Yes, thank you, John. A very good evening. Steve Clarke says if his players play to their maximum and with a bit of luck, Scotland can create history and qualify for the knockout stages of the Euros for the very first time. The Scots kick off the tournament against host Germany, which Clarke says will be a spectacular occasion. The head coach has been speaking to Rahman Bardwaj.
There's a lot of excitement around the championship. Do you allow yourself to get excited?
I'm not sure excited is the right word, but I've got a level of anticipation where, on the back of the last tournament, where we maybe expected too much and didn't get what we wanted. Going into this tournament with pretty much the same core squad, I'm excited to see how much we've improved, and hopefully we can go into the tournament and show everybody that we have improved.
From a personal point of view, Steve, what is it going to mean to you to lead out the national team against the host Germany on June the 14th?
I think as head coach of your country, you're always proud. So it'll be a proud moment to lead us out for the second tournament out of 3. 2 out of 3 is not too bad. And now they have a chance to create just a little bit more history. So let's see if we can do that.
What's it going to take to create history?
Top level performances against good teams. We're going to have to play to our maximum across the 3 group games. I believe if we play to our maximum and we get the right amount of football luck that sometimes you need, I believe we can do it. So that's something for us to aim for.
That opening game against Germany, Steve, there's going to be a big global audience. How do you insulate the players from that outside noise?
Probably with great difficulty, but it's very important for the players, and now we have the experience in the squad. Now we understand what a tournament's like. Opening game, come on, opening game against the host nation. I think we know that it's going to be a spectacular occasion.
How conscious are you, Steve, of the weight of expectation, both on yourself and the players?
Expectation is great because it means that you're doing something right. It means that people believe in us. Recent results haven't been what we want them to be, but the expectation has never left. If you're a professional footballer, surely your ambition has to be to take part in these big games, and I say it all the time in the dressing room and around. If you're a big player, you have to turn up and perform on the big stage, and that's what we have this summer. So hopefully we've got a lot of big players. So let's puff the chest out and go out there and do as well as we can.
You've got these 2 friendly games coming up. How important are they before you head out?
Well, it'd be nice to change our record in friendlies. So no, they're important for various reasons. Obviously, we have a number of players in the pre-selection who need some minutes on the pitch. The first game we can use for that. The second game we'll probably here, hopefully in front of a full house, a big send-off game. Will be closer to the starting 11 for the tournament, but might not be the starting 11 because there's always things that you can change or tweak. But 2 games really important for us in terms of preparation.
It's set to be special, isn't it, Steve?
Yeah, it should be a good summer, so fingers crossed, good performances on the pitch, good performances off the pitch, and a summer to remember.
Steve, thanks so much for speaking to STV.
Thanks, Ramat.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Ahead of their T20 Cricket World Cup campaign, Scotland head coach Doug Watson says being drawn to face England and Australia is an incredible opportunity for his players. The Scots head to the Caribbean for the tournament, which gets underway next week. Here's Jamie Borthwick.
It won't be hard to spot them this summer. Modelling their new kit for the 20-over edition of the World Cup, Scotland's cricketers are heading to the Caribbean looking to cause an upset with games against 2 of the sport's global superpowers.
It's a dangerous sport, the T20. It brings everyone a lot closer, and as you said, if you have one guy and it's his day, and you know cricket goes his way and he does something extremely special, whether it's with a bat or ball, you could have a couple of guys under pressure. I think the Oman and the Namibia game, you know, those can't be taken lightly. They're 2 tough teams, really experienced as well. They've grown over the last couple of years, so they'll be tough. So we'll have to be at our best there. But you know, playing England and playing Australia is an incredible opportunity.
The squad of 15, led by captain Richie Berrington, will play 2 warm-up games before the competitive action begins next week.
Starting with England, finishing with Australia, there's 2 other seriously strong sides in there as well. So it'll be a great battle over the few weeks. But yeah, if we perform as we know we can, stick to our plans, and then focus on what we can focus, then yeah, anything can happen.
Scotland's World Cup gets underway against England in Barbados on June the 4th. Jamie Borthwick, STV News.
Finally, Tennis Scotland chief Blaine Dodds says his door is open to Andy Murray to continue his legacy in the sport when he eventually retires. The 2-time Wimbledon champion is expected to hang up his racket later this year. Dodds credits the former world #1 with helping to raise the popularity of tennis across the country.
We talk to our players that we support, our coaches, and you know, everyone says the same thing, that they're inspired by Andy and to do the best we can for our sport. So long may that continue. And I know that Andy's speaking to the LT about what the future holds in terms of his legacy. So we're involved in those conversations as well. But our door's very much open to Andy and his camp in terms of what he wants to be doing in the future.
Last bit of news, Kilmarnock have signed former Livingston striker Bruce Anderson on a 2-year deal. Bye for now.
Thanks very much, Ronnie. Well, a proper mixed bag with the weather today. Here's the forecast with Sean.
Light winds rolling in from the west. We'll be joined by some very welcomed ice creams. TUI sponsors STV Weather.
Very good evening to you. For many of us here, it's not been too bad, but further east we've had some quite heavy, thundery downpours, torrential downpours at times, and some localised flooding. But the weather a lot quieter by the time we head into the weekend, especially by Saturday. Good ridge of high pressure coming in, a lot of dry, fine and sunny weather, and pleasantly warm as well. So for the time being, through this evening, for many of us further west, still a lot of dry weather with sunny spells. The further east we go, across North Lanarkshire and towards Falkirk, Clackmannanshire here, the most frequent showers, still the risk of some thundery downpours, a few of those perhaps spreading into Ayrshire for a time through the evening, but the intensity of those showers easing off through the night into tomorrow morning. So by tomorrow morning, most of us dry with sunny spells. Now I know we've got about 250 pupils heading to Machrihanish tomorrow to take part in a STEM event there, launching 3 rockets. The weather's looking largely dry, that's good news, but there will be a bit of a breeze around, so it means the rockets might go off at a little bit of an angle. Across much of the mainland tomorrow, inland areas, we're going to see a few showers bubbling up into the afternoon, but still pleasant in the sunshine. Highs 18 degrees Celsius, but just watch out for some heavy showers during the afternoon. Not quite as heavy as the ones we've seen today, and nowhere near as frequent as the ones we've had further east. So on Friday, with the pressure building, a lot of dry weather, temperatures about 17 or 18 degrees Celsius. By the time we get to Saturday, lots of blue skies, highs up to 20 degrees.
TUI sponsors STV Weather.
And that's all we have time for this evening.
From all of us here, thank you for watching. Have a good night.
Good night.